Hold on your nuts. Here it is, the truck build. This is just a picture of what it looked like beforehand. You guys know I did have the sides on it. It was 8 foot wide by 8 foot long, and that backrest there went about 1.5 feet higher than the cab of my truck. Them ugly ass mud flaps were on there. I didn't like them. This is going to be a slideshow. You're going to see step by step pretty much what I did. So here it is. Here's the bed. We had to cut the sides, taking the side wood boards off it and cut the back rack off of it, so that could be cut down. But the problem was it was 8 foot wide and it's too hard to see around it to see my trailer. The bed weighed so much it sunk my helper springs about 3 inches. That was just the weight of the bed, and I got this bed for free with the scissor lift, as you guys know, for dumping if you've been watching my videos all along. So I knew it had some issues and the bed was a little rotted out underneath, so that's what encouraged this build. We did it in my buddy's heated shop, and we worked on it for about a week, a couple hours each day. Had we just pounded it out, we probably could have got it done in a weekend. I got all new steel, and the goal was to make it 6 foot wide, the width of the cab, and still 8 foot long, cut the back rack way down, and then build custom fenders over it. So we started cutting the wood deck off, which we ended up burning in his wood burner, and it burned in there. It was like yellow pine, and this stuff lasted forever. It had been on this truck since, well, the truck I took it off of was a 91. You can see there in the picture how much wider it is in the cab. I didn't like that at all. But anyway, so we cut all the boards off and found all the rotted ties underneath, and that's what it looked like. And we took a gas powered like chop saw with metal cutting blades in it. We just cut it all off and got rid of it, gave it to a buddy of ours, a scrap steel, and so he made a little bit of money off it with all the scrap steel. And my buddy that we built this in his shop. We heated his shop for a week, plus that wood stove heats his house too, so it heated everything pretty well. So everybody kind of made out in this build. So there it is with the bed completely off. Still has some ugly mud flaps on it, and there's the scissor lift in the middle for the dump assembly. All that seemed pretty good except for the lower rails for the dump, not the truck. The truck's perfectly fine, it's solid, but the lower rails for the dump, I started to needle scale everything down to get all the chunky rust and everything off it, and I started puncturing through. You're gonna see here in a second, right there, the bottom rails, I started puncturing through all of those rails, both sides. So instead of just rebuilding a bed, I realized it's better to do it now than never and to replace those rails. So here's a better view. See the lower ones? Those lower ones are actually 3.5 inches tall, and I wanted to use 1/4 inch thick tube steel, but I could only get it in 3 inch or 4 inch. So I bought 3 inch, and then I put 1/2 inch plate on. There they are. You can see where I punctured right through them. Excuse me, after I cut them out. So it was time to take a trip to the steel place where I get the steel for everything I build. They have extremely good prices and they treat me well there. There's a bunch of the steel. I use 1/4 inch thick, 3 inch channel to build the frame of the bed, which you see on the right hand side there. On the left hand side you see the 2 tube channels and the flat inch, 1/2 inch plate. See, so I put it in there, I welded it in, and then I fish plated it on the ends with 1/2 inch thick plate. And then I put some 1/2 inch pieces along it just to make up the difference. It's not really for support, it's just what the bed rests on when it comes down the other rails. So it's not a big deal, but it is, it was cheaper than, it was thinner than 1/8 inch thick rolled steel what was on there in the first place. So the 1/4 inch plus the 1/2 inch plate on there, those rails will never rot out. There it is when we started building the frame on there. You can see I have the C channel facing out. The reason for that is my future plan is to put marker lights in those rails all the way down, and with the C channel facing out, the top and bottom edges will protect the lights from getting smashed up. That's my buddy Ryan. This is his shop, and he's doing some welding over on the other side. There was a lot of welding here, so we both took turns. I did some, he did some. We went back and forth. and we just had a lot of fun doing this. It was a good time. To get this bed exactly how I wanted it, the way I wanted it, the cheapest I could find it was about $2,400. Total, everything out the door with the extra wire that I have in the cab, or that I have in the welder, the welding blanket that I bought to go over the gas tank. You can see real quick the top there. That's where I cut the back rack down left and right and on the top. But anyways, all the steel that I have purchased here and everything, I have about 600 into this versus 2,400 for a new one. There's the fenders. We came up with a style where we went and bought trailer fenders from Tractor Supply, and then we cut, if you look at the one up on the bed, it's got that flat plate, that's an inside fender. We cut that out of there so it doesn't interfere with anything. We welded the two fenders together, and then we used some of that leftover channel to make brackets. You can literally grab those fenders, pick it up, you can shake the whole truck. That's how strong they are. There's Ryan with his Dos Equis in hand. After we built the tailgate, framed it all in, used the same thick 1/8" plating we used on the bed, and then we welded tubes on the sides and put pins down through. And there it is, painted up in his garage. The fender's all painted up. Last thing I had to do was get the tailgate put on, get the sides put on it, and decide what I was going to do with the mud flaps. What I ended up doing is cutting them right off, the bars that came out, and I cut the mud flaps down, and I just bolted them right to the back of the fenders. So they come down 12 inches from the back of the fenders. Looks a lot neater, a lot cleaner, a lot tighter. The best part about this build is this truck is still, so you can see the mud flaps there, how I add them to the bottom of the fenders. Much cleaner, much nicer look. The best part about this is with that bed on there, it's 10 times stronger than it ever was, because it's all brand new steel, nothing's rotted, and it is currently right now sitting 1.5 inches above my helper springs, whereas the last bed on there was sinking the helper springs 3 inches with just the weight of the bed. So you can see the board there, the bottom one isn't painted. Those are the boards from the other bed. I am going to paint that one in the spring. I'm not concerned with it right now. But yeah, now it's 75 inches wide. It's just over 6 foot wide. There it is from behind there. I still got to make a bracket for the license plate, which I'll do. But it's still 8 foot long. It's 75 inches wide, so it's the actual width of the cab. The back rack only sticks up about 2 inches higher than the cab, so it's not this huge, ungodly, ugly ass looking back rack anymore. A full metal tailgate now, so I just popped the pins. I welded or bolted the chains on there. I popped the pins, and the tailgate drops right down. I don't have to mess with pulling the boards out the back anymore. And there she is. I think it looks awesome. It's 10 times stronger, like I said, than it ever was, and it doesn't weigh nearly as much, and it's a lot easier to see around when I have my trailer on. So that's what I end up doing, and I'm ready to go for next season. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Maybe it'll give you some ideas. Thanks for watching.